my feet, and a light unto my path. I shall not stumble. You make firm my steps, for you hold me in your hand. My strength is renewed as I walk in the power of your name. You will raise me upon wings of eagle. As I soar, I will soar with you. Fear not, Israel. Fear not, Israel. Yahuah, Eloah is with you. Your word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. I shall not stumble. You make firm my steps, for you hold me in your hand. My strength is renewed as I walk in the power of your name. And you will raise me upon wings of eagles. And as I soar, I will soar with you. Fear not, Israel. Fear not, Israel. Yahuah, Eloah is with you. And you will raise me on wings of eagles. And as I soar, I will soar with you. Fear not, Israel. Fear not, Israel. Yahuah, Eloah is with you. Fear not, Israel. 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 Yahuah, Eloah is with you. Yahuah, Eloah is with you.
Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuah our Elohim. Yahuah is one. And you shall love Yahuah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And the second one is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Glad to see you here. Well, we just went through a bunch of storms here in Texas, tornado after tornado after tornado. It seemed like tornadoes everywhere. And we had one barreling down right on top of us here. And got within 5 miles here of our house. And we entered into our safe place. And we were listening to the cell phone as the storm chasers were announcing the progression of the tornado. And they showed a picture of it, and it was really wide. I was like, had to be an F3 or 4. I mean, it looked super duper wide. And it was all talk of gloom and doom. Brace for yourself for the worst event of your lifetime type deal, right? And so we began to pray. And I said, Yahuah, could you please lift this tornado? And then I cried out to you and to the storm, and I said, be still, storm, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. And within 5 to 10 seconds, believe it or not, that storm chaser came on and said their tornado has lifted and has missed Sulphur Springs. And it went over top of us and then came back down on the other side, northeast of us. Unbelievable. The power of Yahuah. Yahuah is great. Hallelujah. We serve a great and awesome and mighty Elohim. Thank you, Yahuah. Hallelujah. Okay. And that wasn't the first time Yahuah has done something like that. He's done that several times here for us. One time, the sky was black as coal. This was, I think, 2 summers ago. And I went out and I looked up at it and I said, be still, storm, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. And about the time I said that, my wife came out with her cell phone. She had double radar on her cell. And we literally watched as the storm split in half and went on each side of our house. And it was clear skies above us, black on that side and black on that side. That was during the daytime. Nighttime came, and over that night, we were hit pretty hard with a thunderstorm. It actually ripped some of our roof off and some of the roof vents and stuff, which I had to fix a couple of days later. But nevertheless, it was amazing power portrayed by Yahuah. And then one other time, we were out on the front porch, my grandson and I, and there was a big storm coming. And I looked over there and I said, please, Yahuah, calm the storm. It was a pretty bad one. And my little grandson looked up there at the clouds and he said, raised his hands and he said, please, Yahuah, don't let the storm come on us. And with that storm changed directions and went straight due north to northeast. Missed us totally. We didn't get any rain at all. And then everybody else in the line of that storm got hit hard. It was a horrible storm. So, yeah, don't tell me that Yahuah is not alive and well and watching over his people. Because I think these little Nazarenes here that was in this house this evening deflected that storm in the name of Yahushua with the belief of his power. I know there's a lot of people in this town was probably praying to the J-Man, but I don't think that's what did it. I think it was this little family Nazarene right here. It was coming right at us, by the way. It was only 5 miles from us at that particular point, and it was moving at 35 miles an hour. So it was coming on us within minutes. Okay, so great and mighty is Yahuah. Mighty to save, mighty to deliver, mighty to protect his people. Hallelujah. Let's go, Nazarene. We've got an exciting study this evening. All righty, let me get over here. Let me put my greeting out there. Let me say hello to some people here that I love dearly. And we'll get started on our Torah portion, which will be Exodus 32. Exodus 32. I know. Could be why somebody wasn't wanting this program to proceed this evening, right? Going to be some powerful stuff revealed this evening, folks. Stick around. All right, Dave Messenger, glad you're here, brother. Peggy, glad you're here. MR3 Jobs, glad you're here. Tad, glad you're here. Peggy, glad you're here a second time. Yami and Ruel, glad you're here. Sandra, glad to see ya, sister. Latterang, glad you're here. Gibson girl, glad to see you, Rebecca. Jules Ann, glad you're here. Bruce, glad to see you, brother Bruce. Maria A, glad to see ya. Phyllis White, glad you're here, sister. Lou White, glad you're here, brother. Isaiah DS, glad you're here, brother. Colin, Speaky, glad you're here, bro. From Wales, UK, clear across the pool, the pond there. Glad to see you, Colin. Phil Dickey, glad you're here. Anybody, if I've missed you, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're here, though. Jules Ann, glad you're here. Joseph Essen, glad you're here. All right. I think I hit everybody. And to all those who are not in the chat room and are just watching, glad you're here, too. All righty. So, we're going to read out our Torah portion out of Exodus 32. I got the BYNV open here. If you have yours, go ahead and open it. Read along, if you will. Now, obviously, most of us know this is about the golden calf. But what some of us were misled or taught was not quite the truth about the golden calf. So hopefully we can get that straightened out, and we can also apply that to our era, to our lifetime where we're living now, and how that applies to us. Obviously, we know that everything that happened to the children of Israel is a shadow or an example for us to follow and not to make the same mistakes as they did, or perhaps imitate them if they actually did something right. They didn't do everything wrong. They did some things right. They got the attention of Yahuah. That was right. Okay, so the golden calf related to today in our era is, I want to equate it to the crux or the cross and some other things, but mainly the crux and the cross is our golden calf that we are making mistake dealing with this golden calf spirit, if you will, in our era. Now, a lot of the Nazarene already have a good understanding of this, but we need to get brushed up on it and get some reminders of what's going on, and hopefully help other people that may be watching this. And so in case they're still worshiping the crux or the cross, okay, paying reference to it. Amazingly, when Aaron was involved with this golden calf, when the children of Israel were at the base of Mount Sinai, and Moses was up on the mountain with Yahuah, he after they had built the altar and everything, he had declared that tomorrow is a festival to Yahuah. And amazingly, this feast to Yahuah that was centered around this altar and this golden calf image is still, it's related to the image, okay? And so the crux or the cross, which we're going to find out here once we get study on this, is also an image of Yahuah, okay, in the minds of the wrong, just like the golden calf was in the minds of the Israelites was wrong, okay? And so is there any proof of this? So if this is true, then there would have to be a festival somewhere on this world to Yahuah with the cross or the crux image involved. So is there? Yes. Matter of fact, there's also a day called the Holy Cross Day, where they celebrate and worship the cross and pay homage to the cross. That's every Thursday. Well, not every Thursday, but usually on the 14th of September, which it was this year and which it will be next year, Holy Cross Day. You can look it up if you want to. So who celebrates it? RCC, for sure, Roman Catholic Church. The Lutheranism does, and the Anglicanism does too, and a handful of others. Matter of fact, a lot of them name their circus after the cross. In order to be celebrated, when they celebrate this crux or this image of Yahuah, we'll say, they celebrate it with religious services, with baked goods, okay, in the form of a cross, okay, such as hot cross buns or cross-shaped cakes, etc., etc. So the church or the circus is honoring the cross with a feast of the exaltation of the Holy Cross. The Day of the Cross is also known yearly festival, and it's held in El Salvador, usually on May 3rd each year, and it is a festival. The Day of the Cross. It's a great festival in El Salvador. All right. So they're having a festival to this image. Same as the Israelites had a festival to their image of another mighty one? No. It was not an idol to another mighty one. It was an image of Yahuah. It's what it was supposed to be. And we're going to find that out. That's what correlates all this. So, the cross is the prominent or the principal symbol for Christianity. It recalls the crux, the stake, or the execution on the stake of the J-man, and the redeeming benefits of his passion and death. This is what Christianity teaches. The cross is the sign of both the J-man, okay, J-E-S-U-S, Christ, okay, himself. So it's the image of Christ himself to these Christian people and to these El Salvador people. And it's the image that represents the faith of these cross worshipers or sun worshipers, or the faith of Christians, if you will. And here's the kicker. Most crosses by far are jewelry. And they're either earrings, nose rings, necklaces, finger rings, some kind of jewelry, okay? And they're made of precious metal, prominently gold or silver, with precious gems or stones sometimes. But the vast majority, by far, of crosses is in the form of jewelry. So they wear it around their neck, in their ears, whatever, okay? On their wrist, whatever they do. So what is an upside down cross? We see them. Christianity tries to explain this away and say that this is associated with the martyrdom of Peter being crucified upside down in Rome. And Peter was the first pope of the Catholic Church. Okay, there's no proof of any of that. What the upside down cross really represents is Satanism and witchcraft. Same as a black cross or a red cross, same thing. Generally, the red cross is Satanism, black cross is witchcraft. Upside down cross, definitely Satanism, witchcraft, the whole 9 yards. Matter of fact, most of the satanic cults, when they do their ritual or their satanic worshiping, trying to cast spells and do all these things that they do, they can't do it unless they have a cross in the room. There's a reason for that. All right, so this cross or crux figure is related or correlates precisely hand in hand with the golden calf. And we're going to find that out as soon as we get studying here. Now, like I said, the Christians teach most of them teach the golden calf was an idol. And they were worshiping this idol. That was the idol would have to be an image of another mighty one. Okay, that's what it would have to be. And so they teach that this golden calf was an idol to another mighty one that represented either an Egyptian bull god named Apis, okay, or even longer ago, before that, the Canaanite fertility god called Baal, which most Nazarene and lots of other people have come to the understanding that Baal is Satan, the devil. All right. So this theory or ideology of Christianity teaches is incorrect. Okay, it's incorrect. We're going to find that out in the scripture of truth. Keep in mind, as we read through here, that Aaron himself, the high priest Aaron, said it was the Elohim who brought you out of Egypt. It was an image of Yahuah. That's what it was. That's what it was made to be. And all the Israelites that were there knew exactly who the Elohim who brought them out of Egypt was. It wasn't Baal. It wasn't Apis. They knew it was Yahuah, the one true living Elohim. Okay, they knew that. Okay, so they didn't have a problem understanding what was going on, but teachers do. Uninformed teachers have a problem, and they teach these incorrect assumptions to other people who pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. Pretty soon, nobody's even reading it themselves. They're just passing along the knowledge that was given to them by an uninformed teacher, which is a great problem that we all have to deal with. But so what am I saying? Well, I'm saying, and we're going to get into it here in a second, that be sitting down here now. What I'm saying here is it wasn't a violation of the first command at all. The golden calf. It was supposed to be Yahuah, the violation, the calf was supposed to be the image of Yahuah. So the violation was the Israelites creating an image of Yahuah, period. That was the violation. They weren't creating the image of another God, violating the first Tabarim. They were violating Yahuwah's set apartness, man, by creating an image of him in the form of a golden calf. And to top it off, it was made of precious metal, which is a huge abomination to Yahuah. So precious metal, especially gold or silver and precious stones, is an abomination to Yahuah, especially when it's an image of him or anybody else and any other mighty one, really. But what's really weird is this is exactly what most crosses are made of, gold or silver. And so this is kind of like the same as a cross. Either one was just as bad. Either one's just as bad. Like I said, most of the cross worshipers, if you will, or sun worshipers, whatever you want to call them, understand that the cross is a sign of both Jesus Christ and the faith of their Christian belief. Which makes it an object of worship or an image of Yahuah, is what they're saying it is. They're saying his image is the sun, the cross, the sun. The cross represents the sun. Sunbursts, sun rays, the sun represents Yahuah to these people, because that's the same correlation as the golden calf representing Yahuah. Same thing. Some say, we'll take it even further and say, look, it wasn't a golden bull. It wasn't the father. It was a calf. So the golden calf represented Yahushua, just like the cross does represent the J-man Christ. And that's a very interesting correlation, if you really think about it. All right. Okay. So they get crazy with this stuff. And the children of Israel got crazy with this stuff. And we're going to get into it. And we're going to see if there's any merit to what we just talked about. Exodus 32. Exodus 32. All right. And when the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Arise, make us mighty ones who go before us. For this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Mitzrayim, we do not know what has become of him." So here it seems like whoever's talking is not giving Yahuah any credit. They kind of give the credit to Moses at this particular point in this chapter. And Aaron said to them, "Take off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. And all the people took off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he took from their hand and formed it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. And they said, "This is your mighty one, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim." Okay, so first of all, they made this an image of Yahuah here, where it says in this chapter, this verse here we just read in the 4, this is your mighty one, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. Okay, so they know who the mighty one that brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim is. So here now they're knowing that this image is of Yahuah, because they know it was Yahuah who brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. Okay, so Moshe was a shadow of Yahusha, in which he was a deliverer, right? They consider him a deliverer that delivered them from the bonds of slavery, brought them out of Egypt, right? So Moshe is kind of like a shadow of Yahusha, but they had no problem understanding that the mighty one that brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim was Yahuah. They knew that. Okay. And so Aaron is kind of weird here, which says, and formed it with an engraving tool. An engraving tool? Something you engrave names or letters or even pictures on, and made a molded calf. So it sounds like to me he made some type of mold is what it seems like he made here before he poured the hot gold, melted gold into it to form it. So it sounds like what he was making, because there's an engraving tool and he made a molded calf. So he made like the mold of it before they poured in the gold to form the image, So I think that's what that is. And Aaron saw and built an altar before it. So they got the golden calf and he built an altar before it. And Aaron called out and said, "Tomorrow is a festival to Yahuah." Okay, so why did he say that? Tomorrow is a festival to Yahuah. Well, because this golden calf, this image, was supposed to be made in the likeness of Yahuah. It represented Yahuah, not another mighty one, but Yahuah. And they rose earlier on the next Yom and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. All right. So they were partying, man, dancing, carrying on, maybe orgies, who knows. They were playing whatever you want to put under that title, play, they were doing. And Yahuah said to Moshe, "Go get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Mitzrayim have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them." So here we got to ask, what way? The way of Yahuah in Exodus 20, 1 through 6? Is that what he was referring to? Could be. Quickly out of the way of Yahuah, which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf. So it was a mold. And have bowed themselves to it and slaughtered to it and said, "This is your mighty one, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim." So there you go. It represented Yahuah. They made an image of Yahuah in the form of a golden calf. Really, probably Yahusha, because the calf would be the son, not the father of the big bull, right? If you see that implication. So they didn't make an idol to another mighty one, which would have been a direct violation of the first command or first Tabar, right? But they did make a molded image for themselves and bowed down to it, slaughtered to it, and said, "This is your mighty one, O Israel, your mighty one, Israel, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim." So there's no doubt they thought they were worshiping Yahuah with this image of the golden calf. Just like Christians think they're worshiping Yahushua HaMashiach by calling him a substitute name, a false name, the J-man, and bowing down, getting on their knee and praying to the cross. It's the same thing, exactly the same violation. We're going to see it more and more as we continue to study here, folks. And Yahuah said to Moshe, "I have seen this people, and see, it is a stiff-necked people." Yeah, they refuse to learn, right? "And now let me alone, that my wrath might burn against them, and I consume them, and make of you a great nation." So he wanted to destroy them all because they made an image to who they felt was to his likeness. And then he wanted to start over with Moses and his wife and create a nation out of Moses, out of his children, like he did with Abraham. So he just wanted to start over with Moses. So forget Abraham's line, right? But Moshe pleaded with Yahuah, which he really wouldn't have. Okay. But Moshe pleaded with Yahuah, his Elohim, and said, "Yahuah, why does your wrath burn against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Mitzrayim with great power and with a strong hand? Why should the Mizrahites speak and say, for evil he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the Arets? Turn from the heat of your wrath and relent from this evil to your people." Wow. Moses had a backbone and say that to you, right? But it's a good point. As a matter of fact, if you can integrate this into your daily prayers, your prayers will become more powerful right off the get-go. What do I mean by that? Well, where it says, why should they say or speak and say, Yahuah does not take care of his people. Yahuah allows his children to starve and to wander around like vagabonds. Why should they get to say that, Yahuah? Bless me for your sake. If you get my drift, you put that into your prayer becomes very powerful. Remember Abraham, Yeshak, and Yezreel, your servants, to whom you swore by yourself, and said to them, I increase your seed like the stars of the shamayim, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And Yahuah relented from the evil which he said he would do to his people. Isn't that amazing that Moses asked Yahuah to turn from the heat of your wrath and relent from this evil to your people? And then it says here that and Yahuah relented from the evil which he said he would do to his people. Do we ever think of Yahuah doing evil? That's kind of a deep thought, man. I mean, it's really will take you to places that you've never been before. You start thinking about that, And one would be in Isaiah there, where it says He created evil and He created darkness. And we have to get a grasp on that and get a good understanding of what's going on, because people usually don't talk in those type of terms when it comes to Yahuah. But we can't get off on that tangent, but it's a deep one and something everybody should understand. If you don't, you should try, studying about that. But anyway, and Moshe turned and went down from the mountain, and in his hand were the 2 tablets of stone, or the 2 tablets of the witness tablets written on both their sides, written on the one and on the other. So each one was written on front and back, each stone. So there was a copy for the husband and a copy for the bride, basically. This is what they were. One was the husband's copy, one was the wife's copy, or the bride's copy. And the tablets were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim engraved on the tablets. So he wrote them on the tablets with his finger. All right? And Yahusha heard the noise of the people as they shouted. And Yahusha heard the noise of the people as they shouted. And he said to Moses, why does that say Yahusha instead of Yahuah? Somebody want to block that guy? It's pretty weird, isn't it? Well, because Yahuah is Yahusha, that's why. And like I said, that golden calf was probably more pointing toward Yahusha than it was Yahuah, because it was a calf. It was like the sun, It was inclining toward the deliverer, because that's who brought them out of the land of Egypt, was the deliverer. And even Moshe was the shadow of Yahusha as the deliverer. Okay. So it all kind of points more toward the deliverer, doesn't it? Now, yes, a calf is an Egyptian god named Apius, like we just talked about. And it's also, a calf is also a representation of Baal or Bel, which is really Satan. I think most of us know that. Then the calf or the bull, really and truly, if Baal is Satan, then the calf or the bull is Zeus or Apollo or Jupiter, right? Same thing. In Europa, in Greek, it's Zeus. In the Romans, it's Jupiter. Same thing. It's Baal and it's Satan, right? Yes. So if they were making this image in the form of one of these other mighty ones, it would have been a direct violation of the first command. But they didn't. They made it an image of the mighty one who brought them out of the land of Egypt, which was Yahuah. That's why this was an image of Yahusha, and so is the cross in the mind of the Christianity, in Christians' minds, and much of the world, really. Okay. And Yahusha heard the noise of the people as they shouted and said to Moses, noise of battle in the camp. A noise of battle in the camp. But he said, it is not the sound of those who shout of might, nor is it the sound of those who cry out in weakness, but the sound of singing that I hear. See? The sound of singing. They were celebrating. They were having a feast to Yahuah. The sound of singing. And it came to be, as soon as he came near the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing. And Moses' displeasure burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. And he took the calf which they had made and burned it in the fire, and ground it into powder, and scattered it on the face of the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. So they had to drink that gold. He made them drink the gold. So he says, if this, I guess it's like, if this golden calf is Yahuah, I'm gonna melt it down. You drink it, and then you can take Yahuah into yourself. The Ruach HaKodesh is gold. Go ahead and drink it. Put him in your body. That's a weird presentation there, but it seems to be have some merit to it. All right. Here, you want the Ruach? Drink this gold that represents him then, if he's a golden calf. If the image of Yahuah is a golden calf, drink it. Take in the Ruach by drinking the gold. Is that what Moses' point was here? It very well could be. It's got some kind of merit to it, I think. It's kind of weird. He made them drink it. And Moses said to Aaron, what did this people do to you that you have brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, do not let the displeasure of my master burn. You know the people, that it is an evil. They said, the people are evil. They do these weird things, all these rituals they learned in Egypt. Why are you being so mad about it? They're that way. And they said to me, make us mighty ones who go before us. For this Moshe, the man who brought us out of the land of Mitzrayim, we do not know what has become of him. So they gave up on their deliverer. They thought he was dead or vanished or left them. And I said to them, whoever has gold, let them take it off. And they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and this calf came out. Okay, so this is kind of funny. Most people think that's funny. I think, okay, so Aaron is either lying or he's trying to he's trying to pass the buck, or he's not taking responsibility for his own actions. He's acting like he didn't really do anything wrong. All he did was throw the gold into the fire, and this golden calf came out. Just came out of the fire out of nowhere. I don't know what the world happened. Okay. So this is either, like most people think, Aaron not taking responsibility for his own actions, and he's lying here. Remember, he was the high priest. Wick on Fire, glad you're here, brother. Earl Johnson, glad you're here. Lucas, glad you're here, man. Okay. Or this is implying that the calf was formed by supernatural assistance. He's implying that. Because otherwise it couldn't just do it on its own. So either Aaron is lying or shucking his responsibility, or he's implying here that the devil did it, or some supernatural assistance happened and created this thing. All he did was throw the gold into the fire. And so it just come out of the fire. So they say, maybe Yahuah showed us his image. And so they had a festival and started, built an altar and started worshiping this idol. So I guess there's no real way to really understand what was in Aaron's mind and why he said this. But it could have been a little bit of both. He could have been under demonic influence, but back up here, it does say that he used that engraving tool, and it was a molded calf, which implies that he created a mold, some kind of mold, and then he heated up the gold and poured it into the mold and created the image, And so it could be he's lying or he's shucking his responsibilities, trying to get out of it. I didn't have nothing to do with it type thing to his brother there, Moses. Or if something weird happened, maybe something weird happened in the process. Maybe it did. And that's what he's trying to say here. Man, this something weird happened, So it's a hard one to say which way that happened, but nevertheless, Aaron pays a price for it. Later on, Moses takes him up to a mountain, removes his priestly clothing, puts it on another person, and then Aaron dies up there. So he doesn't get away with it. All right. So either way, he's still held responsible at the end. And Moses saw that the people were let loose, for Aaron had let them loose to their shame among their enemies. And Moses stood in the entrance of the camp and said, "Who is for Yahuah? Come to me." And all the sons of the Levites gathered themselves to him. And he said to them, "Thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, each one put his sword on his side. Each one put his sword on his side, pass over to and fro from gate to gate in the camp, and each one slay his brother, and each one his friend, and each one his relative." So all the Levites joined over to Moses, and then they went and killed everybody else. And the sons of the Levites did according to the word of Moses, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. And Moses said, "You are established for Yahuah today, since each one has been against his son and his brother, so as to bring upon you a blessing today." And it came to be on the next day that Moses said to the people, You have sinned a great sin. And now I am going up to Yahuah, if I might atone for your sin. And Moses returned to Yahuah and said, "Oh, these people have sinned a great sin and have made for themselves a mighty one of gold. And now if you would forgive their sin, but if not, please blot me out of your book which you have written." So now he's asking for forgiveness for the people, the Levites. And if Yahuah says, "No, I'm going to wipe them out and start over with you," like he did earlier, then Moses is saying, "Blot me out of your book of life." I don't want to go on without these people, without my kinsmen, And it's a great sacrifice that Moses is willing to give here to Yahuah. I mean, it's mind blowing, really. Can we take that kind of responsibility for people's sins like Moses did? Can we? Can we pray and ask Yahuah for forgiveness for all the sins that everybody else is committing, and ask him to forgive us of our sins, and even admit that it's your fault because they're sinning? How's that? Can we do that? Do we have that much love? Do we have the kind of love Moses had for the Israeli children, the children of Israel, that we take on their sins upon ourselves and tell Yahuah, "Blot me out of your book, but let them live"? Wow. No wonder he was a representation of Yahusha. That's amazing. And Yahuah said to Moses, "Whoever has sinned against me, I blot him out of my book. And now, go lead the people to the place of which I have spoken to you. See, my messenger goes before you, and in the day of my visitation I shall visit their sin upon them. And Yahuah plagued the people because they made the calf which Aaron made. All right. So the image was made of gold. The image was supposed to be your Elohim who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. They made an image of Yahuah. The modern day era that we live in, people continue to do this same error. How? The cross is representation of Yahusha. So they say, the J-man actually. How about the pictures, the portraits of the J-man? How about portraits or pictures of Yahuah himself? Do they exist? You better believe it. Matter of fact, I saw someone called herself a Nazarene have a photograph of God, which was supposed to be, in his mind, Yahuah, hanging on his wall in his living room. That's the same exact sin that the children of Israel did with the golden calf and made the image of Yahuah in a molten calf. Precise sin is exactly the same sin. Now, did Yahuah tell Moses, okay, since you said, told me to blot your name out instead of, and then forgive these people their sin. If you don't blot my name out with them, let me perish with them. You know, did he say, okay, that's fine, I won't hold their sin against them? He did not. He actually did not. He said to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, okay, I blot him out of my book. He said, I'll do what I want. What are you talking about, Moses? I'm going to blot him out of my book. What are you talking about? Telling me not to do it. And now go. Get out of here. Lead the people to the place which I spoke to you about. The messenger goes before you, and in the day of my visitation, I shall visit their sin upon them. What day is visitation? When he came as Yahusha, incarnated. Yahuah incarnated. The day of his visitation. I shall visit their sin upon them. And Yahusha plagued the people because they made the calf which Aaron made. So he didn't cut them no slack. He continued on with the punishment that he felt his will to do. Okay. So I hope everybody's starting to see a little bit here what we're talking about. So let's take a look over here at Exodus 20, get a little bit more clarification before we go further. I know this could be a little bit of a shocker to some people. So let's get a little bit more clarification at Exodus 20. Let's look at verse 1 through 6. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. See? So they knew who the Elohim was that brought them out of the land of Egypt, man. Okay? They knew that. You can't deny that they knew exactly what the image of that calf was representing. The Elohim who brought them out of the land of Egypt. And then tomorrow we'll have a festival to Yahuah. You see? They weren't making an image of another mighty one. They were making an image of Yahuah, who brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. It's really heavy duty, as we will soon find out. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the shamayim above, or which is in the arets beneath, or which is in the mayim under the arets. You do not bow down to them nor serve them. There's a key phrase. You do not bow down to them nor serve them. So you're making these things with the intentions of serving them, bowing down to them, and making them your mighty one, right? That's why you're doing these carved images, making these likenesses. If you have that in mind to bow down to them and serve them, you have a direct violation of the first commandment. For I, Yahuah, your Elohim, am a jealous awe, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing kindness to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. Okay. So here then, at first glance, it does seem that the golden calf, the making of the golden calf, or the molding of the golden calf, I should say, was a direct violation of the first command. Okay, because where it says, or which is in the arets beneath, so would be beast of the earth, right? And so it does at first glance seem to be a violation. But when we go over here and get a look at 2022, we find the real violation. See, the real violation. And here, we find that Yahuah says to Moses, say this to the children of Yisrael, you yourselves have seen that I have spoken to you from the shamayim. Okay, so they just heard his voice. They didn't see anything. You do not make besides me mighty ones of silver, and do not make mighty ones of gold for yourselves. So here we can see that gold and silver are especially bad news to be making an image out of, even of Yahuah. Okay, and they're not supposed to, because they never saw him, anything. They only heard his voice. Make an altar of arets of me, for me, and you shall slaughter on it your burnt offerings. So here we can see then that the golden calf was violated this law here. Okay, and that the calf was made in the image of Yahuah. So the Israelites attempted to represent Yahuah's presence. It's all they just felt his presence and heard his voice. They didn't see anything. So they attempted to represent Yahuah's presence with this God made of gold, precious metals, which is a huge no-no. It makes it even worse. So this was the violation. And then it goes on, says, and your peace offerings, your sheep and your cattle, in every place where I cause my name to be remembered, I shall come to you and bless you. And if you make me an altar of stone, do not build it of cut stone, for if you use your chisel on it, you have profaned it, nor do you go up by steps to my altar, lest your nakedness be exposed on it. So there you go. So they're not allowed to make an image of him at all. They did not see him, they can't just say, well, I think he's a golden calf. Well, I don't know. I think he looks more like a messenger. I don't know. I think he represents a star or the sun or a cross or whatever. A sunburst, a monstrous. We can't just choose what he looks like and make an image or paint or portrait or something of it and then bow down to it. Say, this is Yahuah, our Elohim, who brought us out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the land of slavery. Not allowed to do that. And that's exactly what they did. So now let's take a look over here. At Numbers 20, verse 23 or 22, no, 23. And Yahuah spoke to Moses and to Aaron in Mount Hor near the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron is to be gathered to his people, for he is not to enter the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my mouth at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar, his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar, his son. For Aaron is to be gathered to his people and die there. And Moses did as Yahuah commanded, and they went up to Mount Hor before the eyes of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar, his son. And Aaron died there on top of the mountain. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, all the house of Israel wept for Aaron 30 days, 30 yamim. So there you go. Aaron paid the price for creating the image of Yahuah to satisfy the people. If you really think about it, they didn't tell Aaron to make a golden calf. You know, for some reason he related the image of Yahuah to a golden calf, or Yahusha, I should say. Back in them days, you know, a bull or a calf, a cow, whatever, was an image of prosperity and wealth and power for a lot of different people. And this could be what was in his mind when he chose this image of a cow to represent Yahuah, you know, or Yahusha, I should really say. Who knows? But he did pay the price for it. Okay, so now that brings us into another kind of a weird correlating study on this. It's found in 1 Kings 12. And here, there's a guy that made 2 calves of gold, okay? And he took them and he placed them in the up in Israel, and he built places of worship and placed them in there. So here again, this guy, his primary sin was not the making of the 2 golden calves, okay, these 2 images, but it was making the place of worship for them to be placed in that was opposed to the only real accepted place of worship, which was the temple in Jerusalem, which Yahuah authorized it. He didn't authorize some other temples. And so this Jeroboam, if you will, is condemned primarily for violating the worshiping of Yahuah in other places other than the one valid sanctuary, which was the temple in Yahusha, or in Jerusalem. Okay, so Kings 12, 1 Kings 12 is where you'd want to read about this. We'll take a couple extra verses here and read it, and then we'll move on quickly. Okay, so up here in 1 Kings 12 and 23 or 24, I mean, it says, Thus said Yahuah, do not go up or fight against your brothers, the children of Israel. Let every man return to his house, for this matter is from me. So they obeyed the word of Yahuah and turned back according to the word of Yahuah. Okay. You can read prior to that to find out what this was all about. Then skip down there to 28, says, so the sovereign took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said to the people, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. See your mighty ones of Israel, which brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim. Okay, so here he again is making an image of Yahuah, but with a calf of gold. And he set up one in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. And this matter became a sin, for the people went before the one as far as Dan, and he made the house of high places, the temples for them, and made priests from all sorts of people who were not of the sons of the Levites. And Jeroboam performed a festival. See, he goes to the festival again. It's a repeat, isn't it? The house of places and made priests from all over who were not sons of the Levites. And he performed a festival on the 15th day of the 8th month, like the festival that was in Yehudah. And he offered on the altar. So he did at Bethel, slaughtering to the calves that he had made. And at Bethel he appointed the priests of the high places which he had made, the temples. And he made offerings on the altar which he had made at Bethel on the 15th day of the 8th month, in the month which he had devised in his own heart. And he performed a festival for the children of Israel, and offered on the altar and burned incense. Scripture says if you burn incense, you burn into other mighty ones. Okay, so this is kind of like the same thing, okay, that the children of Israel did at the Mount Sinai. Okay, they made an image of Yahuah, made an altar, and worshipped the image. Same thing this guy did here. He made 2 of them, put one in each place, built temples for them, made altars, and they had a festival just like Aaron did. Tomorrow will be a festival to Yahuah. Same thing. He did it almost precisely like the one that was in the month which he had devised in his own heart, the offering on the altar that he had made at Bethel of the 15th Yom on the 8th month. Okay, and it was like the other festival, which I think must have been Tabernacles or something. I mean, it was one of the festivals. I'm not sure which one. Okay, so would be the 15th of the 7th month festival. So he worshiped just like that. So that means that it was to Yahuah in his mind, and he performed a festival. He devised this festival in his own heart. Why did he do it? Because it was too far to go to Jerusalem to do it. Let's just build a couple up here. We don't have to go so far. That's too much. That's too far. That's too much of a burden to travel that far to do this. Right? On the 3 migration festivals. Right? So he must have been copying Tabernacles then. What seems like he was doing. Okay. So anyway, here it just gets confirmation here that this is what these guys were doing. They weren't making the golden calf. They were just making a molded image, but it was supposed to be in their sin was it was in the likeness of Yahuah, and they weren't supposed to do it because they didn't see Yahuah. They only felt his presence and heard his voice. They weren't allowed to make an image of Yahuah, and they did. Okay, so is that a violation to make a picture of who people believe is Yahusha, but they call him the J-Man, or who they believe is Yahuah and they call him G-O-D? Portraits, hang them on their walls, or cruxes and crosses that resemble the sun, and they believe the image of the sun represents Yahuah, which it doesn't. It represents Zeus and Jupiter. You see the correlation? And that's what's going on today. Man, they even sing songs of praises to the cross. You know, they worship the cross, man. They all get together in one accord and they sing. Some of the songs that I know that's made to the cross is The Power of the Cross, At the Cross, Old Rugged Cross, Mighty Cross, Bow Down to the Cross, Lead Me to the Cross. The cross has the final word, Nailed to the Cross. These are all songs about the cross, giving esteem to the cross, because they believe that this image represents their mighty one who brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. This is exactly what they're doing. And let me see now. I thought, let me see. Well, maybe not. I thought there was a way to present, share screen. I'm going to try to share screen with you here. All right, let's see here now. Let's take a look at some pictures if we can. There you go. I think all of you can see these. Okay, so here we go. I guess that's about as big as I can make them. I don't know. I think y'all can see them though. But anyway, here's a cross. You got all these big giant crosses. Here on this fourth one over, if y'all are seeing this, there's a man bowing down to the cross. I don't know why he's bowing down that cross. He went all the way up that mountain so he could bow down to that cross. So he must think this cross is the presence of Yahusha and the image of Yahusha. It's the only way. Well, you're saying he would track all the way up there to do that. And look at all these other crosses here that they've got assembled. I mean, they're just, one after another. And this hill of crosses, here's a whole family nailed down to this cross. Why are they doing that? Because they feel that this is the presence of Yahusha, man. They feel that this sign represents, or this image represents their deliverer, the J-Man, and his presence is there, and it's him. And so there's some kind of power within this image. That's why they're on their knees bowing down to this image. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Here's looks like a Pope doing it. I mean, just take a look at these pictures. I mean, they're amazing. I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to blow them up here, but I think you can all get the idea what I'm talking about here. Let me see, maybe I can Yeah, I can scroll down over at this other end. So that means I could probably, yeah. Ooh, look at this. Okay, so, no, that's not going to help us. Now you can get, look at that. That's kind of spooky looking. Hill of Crosses. It's creepy. Ain't no doubt about that. So here's the J-Man way up here on this mountain, if you all are seeing this. There we go. Here's the J-Man way up on that mountain, and he's even making an image of the cross with his arms and his head. He looks like the cross up there. See how they're relating the J-Man to the cross? He's even his body is even in the form of a cross here. You see that? So they feel the cross is the image of Yahushua, or the J-Man is what they call him. There's a huge one. There's a whole family jumping for joy, man, worshiping the cross. Man bowing down, crosses everywhere. There's one that's on fire. There's the largest cross in the world. Look at that one up on that mountain. Here's one where they made a cake of the cross. You can serve yourself a cake and eat the flesh of Yahushua, I guess, eating that cross. Here's a bunch of cardinals here worshiping the cross. Cross, look at that guy paying homage to the cross. The world's largest crucifix is in the UAE. Here's one with a tomb, crossing the door of the tomb. Look at that one. That's in the cavern of salt. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Very amazing. Why are all these people kneeling down and worshiping and praising this cross? You know what I'm saying? Oh. Yeah. Kind of amazing, isn't it? Let me show you a few other things here. You can't see what I'm looking at? That's kind of weird. Okay, share screen. Can you see that? I don't know why it's not showing. Can you see that one? Yeah, I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm not real sure. I hope you can. Can you see it? Anybody? Yep. Okay. So here's a mantras. Look at the cross. Here, this cross is a sunburst. They're showing you that it represents the sun, and they think the image of the sun represents Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? So this is made of gold. That's quite similar to the golden calf, isn't it? They believe this is the image of Yahushua. Here it is, here, way up here. Same thing, big old star, the sun worshiping that cross. These letters here does not represent Yahusha. They represent a trinity of pagan gods. These three here. I'm not going to say their names, but you can see them yourself right here. Here they are, a trinity god. The I and the H and the S. You guys, some of you probably know what their name is. See it? See it? Kind of weird, isn't it? Let's see what we got here. Oh, that's the Vatican in the form of a serpent. Vatican here in the form of a serpent. Here's the head of the serpent, Vatican Hall. There's a photo of the rock hitting the Pope. Statue, I mean. The statue's in the Vatican. This is the one with it, where the Pope's actually throwing down the rock. Here's inside of that Vatican Hall. They have a serpent, reptile skin, slit-shaped eyes, fangs. There's a better look at it. And right here is the throne of Satan in the Vatican Hall here. And here's the Pope sitting on the throne of Satan. The Satan's throne was in Pergamum, and it got moved. It's actually more well known as the throne of Zeus, and it's Satan's throne is called the Great Altar of Zeus, but it's been moved to Berlin. It sits in Berlin. I can show you a picture of it in a minute. But this right here, now, is also the throne of Satan, right inside the Vatican between these two fangs on the serpent. Here's the devil, Satan with his pentagram, two fingers of authority here, influencing children. Here's the snake, two snake heads coming up and touching here. See that? Pharmakia. And he's represented here with wings as an angel and horns. This is more looking like a goat man instead of a bull. The bull, when they're showing you a bull shape, the image of a bull, it really represents more of Moloch, which is a pagan god, in which the children were sacrificed to Moloch, which is represented by Santa Claus and Christmas now. So where that all mutated from. This gets passed around through the temple of Satan. Here's the throne right here between the fangs that the Pope's sitting on. See, half human head, half serpent head, and all these lost souls here that followed Saint, I guess is what it's supposed to be representing. Although if you ask the representatives of the RCC, they'll tell you that this big throne represents the rapture. That's what they say it represents. It doesn't look like any type of rapture I would want to be part of. There's one of the spookiest popes we've ever had. There that throne of Satan is. Here it is again. That's what the second temple was supposed to look like. It's an image of it. Here it is again, but this isn't quite right. This is set up in Jerusalem. It's just a scale, a display you can see there, but this right here is supposed to be the fort of San Antonio here. and this little tower that was attached to the temple area. But the description of this in the War of the Jews is quite a bit different. It's just a lot bigger. At Fort of San Antonio is where the Roman guards stayed, and they were housed in the Fort of San Antonio. Here's Babylon. This is in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium. This is Babylon, representation of Babylon. This is very important when I get to this little clip I'm going to show you all. Keep this in mind. You see, this represents the 10 levels of the uncompleted Tower of Babel. Okay, this is where the European Union's headquarters is, in Brussels, Belgium. It's probably where the Council of Hashatan is assembles. There's a picture. They're blending the old Tower of Babel and the new Tower of Babel, which is the European headquarters, together to show you the likeness of it. It was made in the likeness of the Tower of Babel. This will all be the reason I'm showing you. So it's going to come into fruition here soon at the end. Just keep all this in mind. There we go. European Union. There you go. The reborn Babylon, if you will. Some people call it the reborn Holy Roman Empire. Others just call it Mystery Babylon or the rebirth of Babylon. Roman Empire in the 1st, 2nd century time period. Holy Roman Empire. The rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. All correlates. European Union. Here's Belgium right here. That's where the rebuilt Tower of Babel is. Right between Germany and France. France is really Germans. The Francos are Germans. Germany ran the Holy Roman Empire. With the Pope, of course, out of the Vatican. There you go. There's the Holy Roman Empire. Well represented by the Germans, isn't it? There you go. Get a better look at it. Almost all German, isn't it? All righty. All righty, now let me show you one more thing here. Then I'm going to show you a little clip. Hi, Cato. Glad you're here. All righty, so that's not it. So it has to be this one. Okay. All right. Y'all seeing that right there? Y'all seeing that? Somebody tell me if you're seeing that. Anybody seeing this woman sitting on this silver bull? Y'all seeing that or no? Should be able to see it. Are y'all seeing this picture right here? Anybody can tell me if you're seeing this or not? Okay, you guys seeing this Adam and Eve picture here? Anybody? Yes, no, yes? You are, Sandra? You seen Adam and Eve? All right, so we're all seeing this. All right, then. All right, so if you're seeing that, this bull here is Molech, and this actually really represents it actually represents Zeus. And what the pagan literature says is that Zeus disguised himself as a bull, and he came and he seduced Europa, raped her, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's why Europa and Zeus, their God, represents Europe. Okay, so this gold, these green stones back here, there's 10 of them, and these 10 represent the 10 kings in the kingdom in the end times, the tribulation years, were the 10 kings. The little horn came, uprooted 3, and he became the 8th. Okay, so there's 8 kings. Okay, and so that's what this represents. These 10 little circles here represents that, and they have 10 reserved seats in the United Nations. They have 5 seats where these permanent members have veto power. Well, they've always had 5 other seats. They just haven't filled them. The plan is to fill those 5 seats and to have 5 kingdoms of the West and 5 kingdoms of the East. The 5 kingdoms of the West was going to include Germany and England and France, and these 3 will be controlled by the anti-Mashiach. Those will be the 3 that he controls, and him being the 8th. So those 3 will surrender all their power to him, and he will be in full control of those 3 from the Western part of the UN, of the veto powers, the permanent members. Okay, so anyway, if that's true, that's what these 10 green rings represent. I hope everybody's seeing that. Y'all can see that or no? I mean, I can blow it up like this. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's your 10 kingdoms. Is that better if I do that? MR3 is saying no, too small. But did you see it when I blew it up? Hope you did. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so here is an image of the J-Man, right? Everybody seeing that? Okay, so is this allowed? They didn't have images. They couldn't do these portraits and stuff back in Aaron's day. And when he made the image of the calf to represent Yahuwah's image. But here in our time, we can easily make a portrait. So supposedly this is the J man himself, with the sun in the background representing him as well. Okay. Well, if this is an image of Yahusha, which they claim it is because they speak English, they say the J man, but they're really talking about the Hebrew Messiah is what they claim. So if it is it allowed? No, it's a sin. It's a violation of what Yahuwah said in Exodus 20 when he said, you didn't see anything. You didn't see me, so don't make an image of me. You never saw anything. You just felt my presence and heard my voice. So don't make an image to me. That was what the violation that Aaron and children of Israel did, and they paid for their sin. Even though Moshe begged for them to be forgiven of that sin, they were not. And Aaron was punished for it as well, for making an image of Yahuwah. This is what this is right here. It's the same exact sin, folks. Everybody seen that? It didn't blow up. It's blowing up on my screen, man. I don't know. I'm not sure why it's not. Let's see. Why isn't it blowing up? There. Now is it? Is that blowing up? I hope y'all are seeing these. I mean, I don't know if y'all are or not. I hope you are. Well, here's another image of Yahusha. Okay. That's a sin. Not allowed to make images of him. It's the same sin as when they made the golden calf. That's what the whole point of this is. I mean, are y'all seeing it? Really? Why is it blowing up on my screen, but it won't on your screen? I don't get it. I don't know, man. Why would it not be blowing up for you guys? I don't get it. Should be. Why are these all still thumbnails when they're blown up for me? On my screen, they're blown up. Is that blown up right there? I mean, that's full page for me. That's full screen right there. Are y'all seeing that one? Did you see that? Huh. I don't know why they're not blowing up for you guys. I really don't. Yeah, well, I guess I won't be able to show them to you then. All Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that. I got it right there. It says, all right, let me see here now. Now is it? Listen, I don't know, man. I'm clicking on that little thing at the bottom right that says to show big thumbnail, you know, but it's not doing anything. All right, so I'm not sure why it's not, but see this? I hope you can see this. I don't know if you can or not. But this right here is the throne of Hashatan, or the throne of Zeus is what they call it, but it's really the throne of Hashatan. This whole thing right here is displayed in Berlin. I hope y'all can see that. Can you see this? You see that? So what that is this is supposed to be the arm of God, and this is the arm of Adam going to touch fingers here, right? You see that? That's an image of Yahuah. People put those on their living room walls. If you can see it, here's another one, very similar to that, and with good eyes. Here's Yahuah, but would be a woman reaching down here to another woman. Okay, here's an image of Yahuah as a woman. I mean, is that a sin? You better believe it. Yeah, I double click on. I'm doing everything. I just don't know, man. I mean, on my screen, it's big. I don't know why it's not with you guys. I just don't know why. Well, that ain't it. Can you see them better right there? Looks like they're a little bigger. Can you see them now? They're a little bigger. Yeah, I did, man. I mean, I'm trying to share it, you know. I'll try it again. That's not going to do nothing. I've tried everything. I mean, I have no idea why this isn't sharing with you guys like it should. It should. Can you see that? Can you see them a little better, but they're still small? All right. Well, that's about the best I guess I'm going to get out of this for some weird reason. I don't know. But if you should look at this one, this is the hand of Yahuah touching man. That's an image. That's a sin. There's an image of a golden calf. That's a sin. It's supposed to be Yahuah. Here's an image of Yahuah's hand touching man. That's a sin. It's all the same sins. This one right here is a woman touching the finger of another woman. But this one's supposed to be Yahuah in the pink dress here. This one here, this is a picture of Yahusha. That's illegal. This one right here. I don't know if you guys are seeing these or not. I've seen them a little bit better. I don't know why it's not working like it's supposed to. Kind of weird. Probably have to go into the file. It's probably what I would have to do. But anyway, here's a image of a woman riding the back of a beast. This is representing the end time beast. And the woman is religious leader, which would be RCC and the world system of control, riding the beast, the 10 kingdoms. So all these different images, this one here in particular, is Yahuah, and Adam. So there's an image of Yahuah and Adam touching fingers here from the spiritual to the temporal world, which is a sin. We don't know if that's what Yahuah looks like, and we're commanded not to make an image of him. Okay, so so there y'all go. So the whole thing behind this is that we're not supposed to make an image of Yahuah or Yahusha and worship it, and that includes a cross. Now, I'm going to take a little, extract a little bit of information out of Fossilized Customs written by Lou White here. It says, tradition says that Constantine's aging mother, Helena, traveled to Jerusalem to find the actual wooden cross, which the Savior was hung on. It is claimed that she dug it up. Today, supposedly, the pieces of this discovery are scattered all over the earth. If brought together, there would be enough splinters to fill several railroad cars. The Catholic altars contain 5 relics each, which the priestcraft kiss during their rituals. And so this cross represents the image of Yahusha or of Christ, according to the Christians. And it's a sunburst. It can be a sunburst, sun rays, the cross, the crux. And since Yahusha is the light of the world, there's no need for the sun or moon, to represent them. That's just a temporal light. We're told in 1 John and in Revelations 21:23 that there'll be no need for the sun and moon. And let's get a look at that real quick. And then I'll open this up, see if anybody wants to come in. I think we can all at least start understanding here what's going on and what the sin is. So we're not actually dealing with things that are funny, we're dealing here with it's not something to overlook either, or just put on the back shelf and say, oh well, that represents their Christianity and religion and all this. No, folks. This is a sin. That's the whole point here. It's a horrible sin. And it was so horrible that Yahuah was going to wipe out the entire tribe of the children of Israel that he brought out of Egypt because of it. He's going to wipe them all out and start over with Moses. So it has to be a really bad sin to upset Yahuah that much. Think about it. This isn't no ordinary sin. This is not something to take lightly or put on a back shelf, or say, oh, well, or okay, well, you know. No, it's an abomination. It's a horrid thing that we believe that this cross, this crux, which represents the sun, is an image of Yahuah or Yahusha. It is not. And it's a violation of his commands to think otherwise or to do it or make any type of image of him as a portrait. I don't care if it is just his hand, his finger. Don't matter. It's still him. You don't have any idea what he looks like. And we can't be making a photo of what we think he looks like and then worshiping it. You have to be real careful of that. All we know is that they heard his voice and felt his presence. That's all. Otherwise, they didn't see him at all. Okie dokie. If we look here real quick at Revelations 9:20, it says, and the rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, that they should not worship the demons and idols of gold and of silver and of brass and of stone and of wood, which are neither able to see nor to hear nor to walk. And they did not repent of their murders, nor their drug sorceries, nor of their whoring, nor of their thefts. Now, get a good look at that, man. That they should not worship the demons and idols of gold, silver, brass, stone, and wood. Those 5 elements is what we see crosses made out of. You ever consider that? We see crosses. We see crosses made of silver. We see crosses made of gold. We see crosses made of brass. We see crosses made of stone. We see crosses made of wood, which are neither able to see nor to hear nor to walk. So these crosses are metal. They're New Age stuff. Did these exist? Did they exist in 500 BC? Or are they something new that we're seeing here in the last days? Mostly crosses became popular. Wearing crosses around your neck and as jewelry and stuff actually became popular around 1940 to 1960. And then they've continued to increase in popularity ever since. So these images of this cross, which Christians will not hide, I mean, they will admit they're a representation of Yahusha, of the J-Man, and what he did, his sacrifice. It represents him. They used to really like to put him on the cross so that you knew for a fact it was representing him, but they caught a lot of flack, so the Protestants took it off. Catholics still have him on there. It represents him. It's an image of him, man. That cross represents the Messiah in their minds. And of course, it also represents the faith of the Christians and what they believe in their religious doctrine and stuff. So it's really weird here, that when it says that they did not repent of the works of their hands, and that would be, making abominations or unclean things, and they should not worship the demons and idols of gold, silver, brass, stone, and wood, in which you see crosses made of every single one of them elements. I've even seen wooden crosses with what they believe to be the Messiah, his image of a man, inside of the cross. Like it's carved out, and he's in there, inside of it. Like he's in a box without a lid. That's proof that that's who they believe that cross represents, is his image. And it really translates back to the sun. And who is the sun? Anybody that worships the sun is doing what? They're worshiping Zeus and Jupiter, man. Crazy, man. This is scary stuff when you really start looking at it for face value. What's going on here? It's all about the cross. Come to the cross. The cross saves. Cross will renew your life. Take a knee to the cross. The old rugged cross saves. I mean, they're giving a lot of esteem to that image because they believe it's an image of Yahuah. Just like the children of Israel believed that the golden calf was an image of Yahuah. Same thing. Their deliverer who brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. So we look down here then at Revelations 21, 23. So in 21, we get a look at the bride, and we get a look at the new city, and what it looks like. And so basically, back up here, it says, "Come, I shall show you the bride, the lamb's Asha." And then it goes explaining the new city coming down from the shamayim from Yahuah, right? So then it gets down to verse 23. It says, actually 22. It says, "And I saw no temple in it, for Yahuah Al Shaddai is its Mishkan, and the Lamb. And the city had no need of the sun, nor of the moon, to shine in it. For the esteem of Yahuah lighted it, and the lamp, and the Lamb is its lamp." So Yah is fire, right? So he's light in the wick. So the light, the Yahuah is fire. He's spirit, dwelling in unapproachable light. And he's fire. He's a consuming fire. Okay. So he is the light. Okay. It says here that, "And the city had no need for the sun or the moon to shine in it, for the esteem of Yahuah lighted it." So the esteem of Yahuah is the light. It's the lamp. It's the fire on the wick, man. It's what's giving it the light, brighter than the sun and the moon. It lights it up. There's no need for the sun or the moon anymore, right? And the Lamb is the lamp. What's that mean? Well, he's the lamp. He's the vessel. He's the body. So the Lamb is its lamp. He's the body or the vessel. He's Yahuah's body. So the Lamb is the lamp, the body of Yahuah. And Yahuah is the light or the fire that lights everything up. No need for the sun and the moon. You see that? So there's no representation or image that we can create or paint or anything that we can say is the image of Yahuah. If we do, it's a sin. Period. It's a sin. So crosses, images of a crosses is a sin. And people bow down to them and worship them and praise them and sing songs to them. They are sinning big time. It's a horrible sin. It's no less horrible than the children of Israel when they made the molded calf at the base of Mount Sinai. All righty. So that's the end of that conversation or that study this evening. Let me open this up. Anybody wants to come in, you can. Sorry the pictures didn't work out so well, but I think you at least got to see some of them. And get to see what get a look at them from the real angle, what they really are, sin, what they really are. Amazing how much emphasis that they put on the cross or the crux. So is the cross or the crux the image of the beast? It might be. Maybe. It could be. Never know. If the cross represents the sun or a sun ray or sunburst, which I think it's pretty clear when you see the circle in the middle and you see the sun on top of it or below it or the crescent moon there with it, and Constantine squinted at the sun and he saw the sun rays look like a cross. So he chose that as the image of Christianity. And it quickly turned into the image of Yahusha and was worshipped and praised and songs sang to it, songs of praise sung to the cross, that becomes evident that it's sin, and the cross itself then represents the sun, which means anything that represents the sun or sun worshiping goes back to the foundation of that belief is worshiping Hashatan, the devil. So it's devil worship is what it really is. You're worshiping the devil. And that's why these witches and so forth and so on, and Satanists always have to have a cross present when they do their satanic rituals. They won't even begin them or do them without a cross in the room. Isn't that odd? All right, anybody want to come in? There's the link. You want to come in? Let me see if we got any questions up here. Cato says crosses were worshipped prior to his death. Absolutely. They were worshipped almost in every hemisphere or region across the planet, They were found in South America and Central America and North America. They were found in Asia. Cross worshiping has always been linked to sun worshiping, and sun worshiping has always been linked to worshiping the devil. Here's one. Is the cross also related to the T in Tammuz? I think I read that in one of the many tracks I've been reading. I don't know. It's worshiping pagan deity, and Tammuz, goes back to Nimrod and the first God man proclaimed to be anyway, worshiping him, but he did fly away to the sun, and of course there's people that weep for Tammuz. It's all part of that pagan stuff. And, the Nimrod went to the sun, and became the sun, but really, it depicts Satan. That's what it's really doing. He's always been represented by either a bull or an eagle. The eagle carrying the sun across the sky as the sun sets, his trajectory of it rising and setting. It's the eagle carrying the sun across the sky type thing. The more of that. Tammuz is more related to Nimrod and paganism. Really the root of paganism. I don't know if the cross is related to the T or not. I don't think so. But it could be, Let's see. Anybody else got any questions? Here's a comment. If I wore them all, gold, silver, stone, and jewelry, and the worst part was I felt safe and protected by the J-Man. Yeah. I was probably Yahuah protecting you. He just hadn't woke you up yet. He was cradling you in his arms, and you were sleeping. So he decided to wake you up. All right. Here Maria says, idolatry everywhere, witchcraft everywhere, food sacrifice to idols everywhere seems to be common. Yeah, don't forget the whole world was pagan except for Israel. They were the only ones set apart people to Yahuah, but then they started intermingling themselves with the Gentiles and started doing the same things the Gentiles, and instead of staying with Yahuah and what he said, they started sneaking around and learning the ways of the Gentiles, doing what they were doing. And Yahuah had enough of it. After Yahuah had enough of it, he said, okay, you guys want to do all that? Boom, go do it. And so he scattered them out among the nations to do what they were sneaking around doing, worshiping pagan gods. All right. Fire and smoke, sulfur plagues. Okay, so, we can look and we can understand that very easily, that we can understand that if a human takes a statue of sorts, no matter what it's made out of, but gold and silver is exceptionally bad as far as Yahuah is concerned. And they bow down to that. They carve them out, make them, and they bow down to them, right? And worship them and serve them. Even including yourself, your fleshly body, in that category too. We can easily understand that that's idolatry and the direct violation of the first commandment, right? Or the second commandment, right? And the first and the second. And really the third too. But when it comes to religious objects like crosses, especially pretty things like jewelry, that for some reason we overlook that sin is as plain as it is. We don't see it. For some reason, they have hyped that cross up to the point where people don't even see it as an image anymore. And not only is it an image for people that people bow down and worship it, these people see this as their God, is their savior. That's how bad it really is. So now, for those who want to stick around, I've got this little weird clip here that I found. I was intrigued by Brother Rule, and when he a couple weeks ago was telling us about that he had been studying and seeing stuff about King Charles being the anti-Mashiach. I don't know if any of you recall him telling us that, sharing that with us. So I started looking around at that, and I just happened to run across a clip, really very interesting. Really, it's about I don't know if I can screen. I wanted to share it, but I'm not sure if I can after that last episode. But I'm going to try. Now, what's your question, MR3 Jobs? Stone Clone, glad you're here. If you had a question, just go ahead and come on or type it in there in caps if you can. Are you going live on your YouTube when Yahushua splits the sky like a scroll? Probably not. YouTube probably won't be around at that point, since he's not coming until after the tribulation years. So I'd say the tribulation years will comes after World War III and after Armageddon. There's not going to be a whole lot of anything left, I'd say. So probably not. I'm pretty factly could say no. But this here was from, I don't know if you guys know Janie DeVol. She's been around for a long time. She's kind of flip-flop between Christianity and Nazarene type stuff, or Hebrew roots, if you will. And she interviewed Tim Cohen. He's a Christian, but he's got a lot of knowledge and stuff, and he keeps tabs on world currency, world current events, and so forth and so on. So I ran across a little video as she was interviewing him, and it was very interesting what he was sharing, even though he does use Lord, G-O-D, but he doesn't say it a lot. He says it a little bit, but the thing that really blowed my mind is when he shared about the games, the Commonwealth Games of this year that was held in Birmingham, England. And they do that every year. It's a huge athletical event, similar to the Olympics. Matter of fact, it's only second to the Olympics as far as participation and viewers and stuff goes. It's a pretty big event. Most of you are probably familiar with it. Anyway, the ceremony they did at that event blowed my mind, and I think is really proof that we are getting extremely close to the end of the latter days. And so I got it here. I want to share it with you, but I don't know. I mean, he believes, this Tim Cohen, he's an author. He's wrote some books. Like I said, he's a Christian. And he believes that King Charles is the Antichrist, okay, the anti-Mashiach. And he presents a great case for it. And his shield, King Charles's shield, is mind-blowing. It has a chained up unicorn on it. It has a red dragon contained in the pit. And as his prelude to his becoming king, and then his symbol, his crest, turns into the unicorn. With the one horn is broken. The chain's broken, which represents the one horn, the little horn, okay, that comes out of the pit, right? And it overtakes the three of the kings and then becomes the eighth king. There's 10. He takes control of the three of the kingdoms of the kings, becomes the one king of those three kingdoms, represents those three, and then now there's 8 kingdoms. He becomes the eighth. Some of you are probably familiar with that in the Revelations. Okay, so on this crest, it shows the chain has been broken for the one-horned beast to come out of the pit, and then where the red dragon's contained underneath the one-horned unicorn that's chained down, well, that's been opened, and the red dragon can come out. And this is the crest he adapted or took on, which was already formally created, right? When he became king. So very interesting, and I can see why Brother Rule was talking about it a couple weeks back. If I can, I'm going to share this with you. It's not long. It's long, but I chopped it down just to the part about the Commonwealth Games where it shows you that, yeah, the dragon is coming into power here pretty quick, man. Tribulation years, in other words. He's going to be unchanged. He's going to be loosed. He's going to be able to go out and cause a lot of destruction. He's not going to be retained anymore. He's going to be cut loose. And let's see if we can watch it. I hope we can. All right, so here it is. See, I don't know why it's going down there because it never. There we go. Can you all see that? Somebody tell me if you can see it. Here we go. I'm going to play it.
Explain in the description you said in Genesis, I read in your materials about the tribe of Dan and how that would relate to Prince Charles.
Okay, I'll tell you about that and something I didn't mention in this interview that just happened with regard to Prince Charles before he became king, before his mother died. So in Genesis, Jacob was blessed I have waited for your Yeshua, Lord. So Dan is a serpent who strikes the horse's heel. The rider goes backward. I've waited for your Yeshua, Lord, right? So there are two versions of Prince Charles' achievement shown in all editions of the Antichrist and Captivity. So the first edition also, the official and the unofficial. On the official one, the unicorn is bound. And that there's a chain that's called a restrainer in heraldry. That's actually what it's called. The chain restrains the unicorn by being bound to the compartment below it. And below that unicorn is the red dragon of Wales in the compartment, not touching it. So on the official version, the red dragon is in that compartment, not touching it. It's encircled by a gold compartment. Above that compartment, resting on it, are the hooves of that unicorn, which is not rearing back, and it's chained to the base of that compartment. That's the official arms. The little horn as a man is restrained, and the red dragon is not touching the compartment below it, okay? The unofficial version is really interesting because the red dragon suddenly touches the compartment. The unicorn rears back.
Just like that prophecy in
The
Genesis.
chain is loosed. The restrainer is loosed. 2 Thessalonians 2, when the Antichrist is revealed. The unicorn takes on instead of a smooth, almost pleasant demeanor, like the unicorn on the official arms, it takes on a very demonic, deathly look. The unicorn does as it rears back. Okay? All those beasts on Prince Charles' arms form a corporate beast, and it's got its own helm called the sovereign helm, which is the corporate helm, the corporate head of the overall heraldic achievement. The combination of those beasts as though it were a single entity in the occultism of heraldry, okay? So each of those beasts also individually represents Prince Charles himself directly. And I explain how that is from the symbolism the emblems used in the Antichrist and Captivity. All editions explain that. So when this unicorn goes back, it's like Prince Charles going back, but it's also signifying the devil has possessed him. So this pertains to the midpoint of the tribulation week. This is portraying the future, in other words. These beasts in heraldry are not just to identify a combatant, it's to tell their future when they're very occult like this, okay? So from the beginning, they knew that he would be king, which is why they put the sovereign helm on his coat of arms as Prince of Wales. It's very unusual. Even his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, when she was princess, had her own coat of arms that did not have the sovereign helm. That was added when they knew that she was going to be queen. Okay, to give us the coat of arms that everyone has seen associated with the United Kingdom and with Queen Elizabeth II until now. Okay, Prince Charles, now King Charles III, had that helm on his heraldic achievement from the beginning.
So that was their intent. Yeah.
They always knew it, right? And the same thing on that unofficial version where he's rearing back. They always knew at some point he was going to be possessed by the devil and the chain was going to be loosed. Okay, this ties into the prophecy about Dan. You see, the British monarchy claims to be descended from King David, as I pointed out. In reality, they're actually descended from the tribe of Dan. And because of that, through Teotefi or Tephaneia, on that lineage of the queens, they claim that the prophet Jeremiah made his way to the British Isles with some Israelites, Danites, and that one of them is in the lineage of the British monarchy. So they're Danites, okay? And why that's significant, they actually are Danites. Two reasons. One is it was the tribe of Dan that led ancient Israel into idolatry, which resulted in a schism between Judea and Israel, a civil war that divided the kingdom. So we got Judea and Israel. That's all because of the tribe of Dan. And as a result of that, when we get to the 144,000 in the New Testament in Revelation, the tribe of Dan was completely excluded from the 144,000. And the tribe of Joseph got a double portion between Manasseh and Ephraim, his two sons. They got 24,000, Joseph did, but 12,000 between each of those two sons to substitute for the absence of the tribe of Dan. Now, Christians looked at this, and before Christianity, Israel's sages looked at this, and they said, the Antichrist, the black one is what they called him, rather than the Prince of Darkness, would come from the tribe of Dan because of that prophecy in Genesis. So they knew there was a war between Yeshua, salvation, and the devil, the red dragon, portrayed around Dan from that prophecy. And it is actually depicted, portrayed on Prince Charles' coats of arms. Now, King Charles III's coats of arms.
Yeah, that's unbelievably incredible information. There's just too much that's in the scriptures that's proving who he is.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and so here's the thing I didn't share earlier that happened this year. And you'll want this. This is a big deal. This is a very big deal that this just happened right before he became king. So folks, pay close attention. You're going to want to go look this up. And I give the full details completely documented in the second edition of the Antichrist Cup of Tea. Here it is, July 28th, at the Commonwealth Games, the 22nd Commonwealth Games for 2022. You have these every few years. They've been going on the whole time. The Queen Elizabeth II was queen. It's the largest set of international games in the world after the Olympics. And this year they had 72 nations and territories participating. Roughly, they estimate almost a third of the world's population potentially watching. Okay, the whole British Commonwealth. At this event, Prince Charles opened it in lieu of the Queen on her behalf. He oversaw the whole thing. He was there in person at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham, England. Okay. At that event, a giant Moloch bull, 10 meters in height, was rolled out into the center of the stadium to be worshipped and to face a large, rebuilt right there in front of everybody, mock Tower of Babel with shards in it. And it begins with a star exploding in our solar system. That's how they introduced this. A lot of welcome to Cartoon. CGI initially. They portray a star outside our solar system, or maybe deep in our solar system, blowing up past Saturn. And it explodes a bright star like Lucifer. That's what it is, exploding. And its shards fly through our solar system, and they reach Earth. And they land in all the nations of the Commonwealth. And these 72 quote-unquote dreamers, New Agers, find these shards outside their homes. They retrieve them. The first person to do so is named Stella. She picks it up. It's lit. It's brightly lit. It's like a large quartz crystal. It's bright white, lit as bright white, like an interior light, as it were, bright white. She picks this thing up and she prays to it, whispers to it and prays to it. Then she takes us back to her home. All these others, these 72 dreamers, there's 72 of them total, including her, pick their shards up and they take them to their homes. As soon as they do, there are anti-gravity effects in their homes. Things start to float in the air. And then their homes are lifted up off the ground with these people in them, and they float across the Commonwealth from other nations and across the UK, across seas and oceans and lakes and forests and so forth to Birmingham, England, to be over the stadium. All these homes floating over the stadium, and then they land. And the dreamers exit them in front of the audience. And they have the shards in hand. The bull then comes onto the stadium, pulled by slave women, slavish women on chains. The bull, they portray this, rebels and detaches from the chains. And these female slaves who've been driven by somebody who's kind of like a Roman, a demon, whatever, doesn't quite look like a Roman, are freed, right? So now the bull and these women are freed, and they pretend they're afraid of each other. And the bull goes on to the center of the stadium, and these quote-unquote dreamers, these New Agers, encircle the thing. But initially, before they do that, Stella comes with her crystal. She and 5 others, there's 6 of them, 6 of the dreamers, apart from these slavish women who are behind now on the bull, the either side of it as it's moving, kind of charging actually into the center of the stadium. Okay, from the track from just outside where it's entered, now detached from its chain, no longer restrained. Okay, charges into the center of the stadium. Stella, wanting to appease this thing so that they're not killed by this Moloch idol, goes to this New Age crystal, approaches it slowly with these 5 other dreamers. She's got the crystal in her left hand, and then she puts her hand up to the nose of the bull, and it bows down so that she can touch its nose. with a crystal in her hand. She's the only one holding her crystal at that point. And the bull is, at least at that moment, appeased. And there's a whole backstory to this, and they say things, they announce things to the audience, about peace, love, friendship, yada, yada, conflict resolves, slaves freed, all this kind of stuff. And as this is happening, the slavish, and there are multiple stages to this, so I'm going to be skipping over some things, but this bull kind of calms down. It's facing the Tower of Babel this whole time. And at times there are flames like the towers, like the flames of hell all over this Tower of Babel, okay? And it's facing this thing. The bull is. They encircle it multiple times, and they literally worship it. They've all got their crystals in hand. They bow down to this thing. And then later, Stella gets atop it and rides it as the woman riding the beast. And there are then 71 dreamers encircling it. And they're bowing down to this thing, worshiping it, and literally doing a New Age worship ceremony with their crystals before this thing, and inviting the whole Commonwealth to join them in this worship. And who's overseeing all of this? Prince Charles. And then the woman's riding the beast, right? And as we get toward the end of the ceremony, and there are a bunch of songs, by the way, that are accommodating this with significant lyrics, okay? And I won't go into that, but it's all documented in the book. At the end,
Okay,
as it's getting dark.
Which book is this?
This is going to be the second edition of the Antichrist Copy. One reason it's a little bit delayed is I have to get this in there. It's too critical. Okay? Right there at the end, the bull is rearing back. So it's rising up on its front feet. Okay? And it's encircled by the flags of all these nations, the 72. They've literally placed their flags at the base of this thing. So you're not just worshiping it with the crystals and all the rest, and not just being ridden by Stella, the woman riding the beast. Now the tower is rising again before this beast. It's been built. And all the nations, by the way, their names have gone across this tower already. At this point, been displayed on its surface. At the top of this tower, I told you those shards came down earlier from the heavens. This blown up Luciferian star, representing the devil, reaching the earth, falling to the earth. The devil falling to the earth, okay? And being taken up by these New Agers. So they all approach, they leave the bull now, but the flags are at the base of the bull, showing the nations are all worshiping around this bull in 71. And I'm going to come back to the number 71. It's extremely significant. But at any rate, they all come to the base of this tower with their shards in hand.
Imagine a fire starts on your living room sofa.
And they stick them into the side of the tower. And they ascend visibly through the tower. And as they get toward the top of the tower, they form this ball, the original star that blew up, reconstituted. And then it rises above the tower. And you get this huge disco-like ball atop the tower that's lit up very brightly. And a beam of light goes between that ball and the chest of the bull. Now it's nighttime at this point in Alexander Stadium, an open-air stadium. So you can see these lights. But they're portraying the rebuilding of the Tower of Babel in our day, with Lucifer ran over it, being worshipped by all the nations of the world. And why do I say all? I said that the 72 dreamers were for the 72, they're for the 72 nations and territories of the British Commonwealth, right? Stella being the 72nd, she's riding the bull. Why 71 worshiping around the bull? Okay, how does that represent all the nations? Well, here's the deal. At the Feast of Tabernacles every year, Israel would sacrifice 70 bulls, not 71, 70. And Israel's rabbis historically understood that to represent the nations that came out of the scattering from the Tower of Babel. So they took those 70 to represent the nations of the world. And the way Christians and often the rabbinic community have interpreted those 70 bulls that were sacrificed, they would say, well, we have our God and we worship him and we do sacrifices on behalf of Israel. This is how it would be interpreted, right? So these 70 are for the nations. And oftentimes Christians look at that and they think this is a sacrifice on behalf of the nations. So that maybe their sins would be forgiven. The ones who don't worship the God of Israel at the Feast of Tabernacles each year, it was never that. That is not what it ever in history represented. So I'm going to come back to what it did represent in a moment. It did represent the 70 nations, that's correct. But the reason there were 71 around the base of this bowl is because Israel was included. You see, the nation of Israel came after the 70 at the Tower of Babel, right?
Interesting.
So now they're saying, oh, Israel, by the way, you're not going to worship your God anymore. You're going to worship Lucifer with us. So there's 71 instead of 70 at the base of this bowl. led by the woman riding the beast, representing, if you want, the harlot church under the Antichrist, okay? Well, what were the sacrifices really about at Tabernacles, the 70 bulls? Was it for the sins of the nations? I'm going to tell you no. It was their death and destruction, their crushing by the Messiah at Armageddon. That's what it really represented. When God, our God, sacrifices the nations like brute beasts, man without understanding is like the beasts that perish. That is what Scripture tells us multiple times. Those nations that did not worship God, that were at the base of the Tower of Babel historically, were not worshipers of the real God. They were engaging in paganism. And God scattered them to the nations. He brought a nation separate from them, a new nation, Israel, the 71, the 71st, okay? So we can look in Revelation 19, in Ezekiel 39. We can see that when the Lord is done with Armageddon, that the birds of prey come down to eat the flesh of the slain. Like beasts, right? The flesh is slain, like man without understanding, sacrificed like beasts. How do we know that the world is like beasts in that context to God? In Acts chapter 10 through 15 and chapter 10, Peter was shown a scroll as he was atop a house, a rooftop. A scroll rolled down from the heavens before him. And in it were beasts of all kinds, creatures, crawly things, right? Different kinds of life. And 3 times God said to Peter, "Arise, slay and eat." And 3 times Peter refused. He rebuked God. He said, "Not so, Lord." Almost in an angry tone, "Not so, Lord. Nothing common or unclean has ever entered my mouth or passed my lips," right? And the 3rd time, and each time God said to Peter, what God calls clean, do not call, what God, I forget the exact word, but what God sanctifies basically don't call common or unclean. That's essentially what he says to Peter each time. And at that moment, the scroll disappears. But the whole point is these nations that Peter saw were represented as unclean beasts. And most of the nations of the world, many of them, even to this day, have unclean animals, what would biblically be considered unclean to eat, as their symbols.
Oh, interesting.
So when these bulls were sacrificed, on behalf of the nations, in this case, they were symbolizing the Molech worshipers being killed by Christ at Armageddon. Okay? Man without understanding, sacrificed like the beasts, like beasts. And that's what we have. We have an attempt under Prince Charles, now King Charles III, to flip all that on its head and to get modern mankind to worship the devil with this ancient Moloch imagery, to invite mankind to do that and to suggest that Israel is going to be a part of it. That was July 28th this year, at the opening of the Commonwealth Games. So for that to happen, and then Charles to become King Charles, right after that, King Charles III.
Wow, the timing.
It's incredibly significant.
Yeah, the timing is amazing.
Oh, and I'm going to wrap it up with one other point, which makes all of this that's very significant even more so. If you can imagine that. So, and I pointed this out, by the way, in the first edition of the Antichrist and Cup of Tea. It's also been in drafts of my Messiah History and the Tribulation Period since the 1980s, some of which I circulated about 30 copies to earlier viewers in the early 1990s, okay? Before, a long time before the Antichrist and Cup of Tea was published. So not just saying this now, I've said this from the beginning. There was never anything such as a revived Roman Empire. Doesn't exist, never existed, never will. It's a misunderstanding of Scripture. What there is instead is a revived Babylonian Empire.
Interesting.
So you'll recall Nebuchadnezzar's statue, right? Starts out with a gold head, and then it leads to the 10 toes, which are the final form of the Roman Empire, right? Babylonia was destroyed historically, went away, right? But at the end of the tribulation week, what city gets destroyed? Mystery Babylon. That is the city that rules over the kings of the earth, right? That is the city destroyed right before Armageddon in Revelation 19. Mystery Babylon. That is the city that rules over the kings of the earth under the Antichrist, right? So what does that mean? There's a revived Babylonian Empire. And the final form of the Roman Empire were these 10 toes these 10 kings actually come on the scene, where the global government is constituted, that is nothing less than the revived Babylonian Empire that has come out of the Roman Empire. It's the final form of the Roman Empire, but it's also a revived Babylonian Empire. For them to then go now, right before he becomes king, and particularly if we're already in the tribulation week, approaching the Great Tribulation, and which, if we are already in the tribulation week, that will mean the Great Tribulation will start less than 2 years from now. Okay?
Which is then 3.5 years.
Right. 3.5 years from the start of the 7 years, if we're in the tribulation week, and I don't know if we are yet. But regardless, for it to be at this point in history before he becomes king, to now say, we're reconstituting the Tower of Babel, we're putting Lucifer as the all-seeing eye, the king, over this whole thing, and we and you are to worship through Molech. This is bull idol. And here's the other clincher. Moses came down off Mount Sinai with the initial set of tablets to find Israel had reconstituted that bull, the golden calf. It's the same thing.
Kick out the bad bacteria behind bad breath, cavities, and gum and mouth disease with probiotics for your mouth.
The Aphis bull of Egypt, the same thing as Molech. For Molech and Baal, like Ra and Aphis for Egypt, okay? Same thing. Moses comes down off Mount Sinai with God's commandments and finds Israel worshiping this thing.
Right.
Throws down these commandments and judgment follows, right? Disgusted with Israel. It's so serious that God is ready to annihilate Israel from the face of the planet and make a new nation out of Moses, right? And Moses intercedes and says, no, Lord, take my life too, if you're going to do this. Otherwise, why have you brought this people out of Egypt only to have your name, mocked, spoken against among the nations because you brought them out and couldn't bring them, all the way to the promised land. You had to kill them in the wilderness because they were so wicked, right? You couldn't deliver, in other words. If you're going to do that, kill me too. So Moses interceded in the ultimate way before God. And so God changed his mind and judged the nation of Israel, right? And ultimately gave new 10 commandments. Okay, so here, Moses was a type of Christ, right? So for a moment here, we're going to put Moses in place of Christ. Moses was a type of Christ. There's a prophet like him who would arise in Israel. That's the Messiah, right? Okay. So the Antichrist is a counterfeit of Christ. Therefore, he's also a counterfeit of Moses, right?
Right.
So here's Prince Charles. At the beginning of this event, the bull hasn't been brought out yet, not unveiled. The bull is brought out, and these runners that have traveled, these athletes that have traveled through all the nations the prior year, bring this baton, which is shaped like a torch, to Prince Charles. And this is after all this stuff has happened around this bull. And Prince Charles has been overseeing the whole thing. They bring this torch, and they open the top of the torch, and a little scroll is pulled out of the torch, and the lady who's over the Commonwealth Games unscrolls it, hands it to Prince Charles, and he reads it as a message from his mother to bless the event. This is like the 10 Commandments. This is the counterfeit in this case. Moses coming off the mountain, Prince Charles overseeing this event. Moses in Israel worshiping the golden calf and being furious, casting down the 10 Commandments. Prince Charles saving the nations, worshiping the Molech bull. Not being furious, saying, oh, hey, let me bless this from the queen. And after that is when, right after that is when the bull raises up on its heel. The tower is fully raised. The all-seeing eye of Lucifer is reconstituted over the thing. And the beam of light goes between the bull's chest and that ball over the tower, the all-seeing eye. Prince Charles oversaw that whole thing. It's like saying, now you can worship the devil. And we'll achieve our aim of finally building the Tower of Babel and putting Lucifer as our God, our king. And here's one last thing. When they put the idol on the Temple Mount and it represents Jupiter or Zeus at the start of the Great Tribulation, guess where the devil is at that point? And by the way, remember, it's got Prince Charles' face. That idol does. Guess where the devil is at that point? He's possessing Prince Charles. He's entered him. The devil entered Judas Iscariot before he went to betray Christ. He possessed him. The devil will enter Prince Charles before he goes to betray Israel. Christ was crucified after the betrayal by Judas. Israel will be betrayed, and the church will be betrayed by Prince Charles after he's entered by the devil. There are two individuals in Scripture only who are called the son of perdition, the son of destruction. Judas Iscariot was one. He was the son of perdition, the son of destruction, in the context of the crucifixion week. The other one is the Antichrist, who is the son of perdition or the son of destruction in the context of the tribulation week. Jesus betrayed Christ, God's firstborn son. The Antichrist will betray Israel, not just Christ, but Israel, corporately as God's firstborn son. And so the great tribulation will ensue. And not just Israel, but those of us who are believers led as lambs to the slaughter, like Christ was led to the cross. The church will go through the whole tribulation week. And I talk about this in my Real Rapture material. He has the phrase, Savior of the world, inscribed on its face. And it shows Prince Charles.
Okay, so here's that statue that he's talking about. It's got wings. This is Prince Charles. The face of this statue is Prince Charles. And there's another one. This is the small one that was given to him. And there was another one 10 feet tall that's made. And it's made, and it's probably going to be put on the Temple Mount, according to what this guy's saying. It is weird that they made this small shelf type replica of the 10-foot tall statue of Prince Charles. This is Prince Charles' face on this. That's what he was just referring to. It's pretty weird for sure. All right, so that's enough of that. He's a lot of, Christian lingo there toward the end, but some of the things he was saying I disagree with. But the whole point of it was I wanted you to see that ceremony they did this summer, which is extremely upsetting and wicked, almost like the beast has been unleashed from the bottomless pit type ceremony. And especially when the chains came off, the women were holding the chains, right? And then the chains came off of him and he was freed. It's almost like this summer, if Yahushua's coming back 2028, that means that the 6 years, the 7-year week that he was talking about, 3.5 years of tribulation and the 3.5 years of birth pains is how they get the 7, would have begun this year in the summer. And these games here, this guy was just showing us these Commonwealth Games, was conducted this summer, this year, right at the half-year mark, which would mean that it started here. It'd be in the middle of 2022, and then he'll be back at the end of 2028. If that, 7-day week actually did begin this summer with these games, these Commonwealth Games ceremony, where the bull was unleashed, symbolizing that the anti has been let out of the bottom, has come up out of the bottomless pit, to take reign. Could be. Who knows, man? But that statue of King Charles with the wings and standing on those people, and they're drinking wine down there below his feet, and that head, the face is him. They have one 10-foot tall. They're going to place that up on that Temple Mount, like his processor did with the statue of Zeus back in the Maccabees, first Maccabees, where it talks about that. Wow, man, it's just a lot of things gelling there. So I just thought you'd be interested in seeing that. It definitely caught my attention. So anybody got any questions on any of that or anything else we talked about this evening? Yes, you can ask them in the chat room if you want. Put them in caps, or you can just come on here and talk about it if you want. Here's the link again. Very interesting, I don't know if fully agree with some of the stuff he was saying, but nonetheless, you got to admit, man, that ceremony this summer coming out of Birmingham, England was a scary thing. And it really correlates with scripture fairly well. It really points at the end times, doesn't it? The latter days, end of the latter days being upon us. So it's a big wow, but from me, I don't know how y'all felt about it. All I'll do is I'll put the link to that down below in the comment section, and I'll pin it there. And if anybody wants to go on there and watch the entire presentation, it's about 1 hour and 46 minutes long. It's worth watching. I mean, like I say, I didn't like a lot of his verbiage, of course, and I didn't agree with everything he was saying, but I thought he brought out some really, really good points. And I can tell the man's done some serious research and studying, So nobody wants to come on. Yeah, that's true, Shelley. I mean, that stood out to me too, that so many people were going along with it like it was just some sort of entertainment, like they didn't know what's going on. But the scary part of all that is there was probably a lot of people in those stands that did understand what was going on. And that's the scary part, But what else would you think? I mean, if you just put yourself there and they came out with that, right? And you were watching that, I mean, what would you think? What in the world does all this mean? It doesn't take a rocket science for the light bulb to come on. And that was a pretty wicked, dark ceremony. They also had Duran Duran and Black Sabbath there playing dark songs. I mean, what's going on over there in England? I mean, this was their entire Commonwealth, all 72 of their states that make up the United Kingdom, man. I mean, wow, what's going on there? Could he be, since the lion represents Great Britain and the end time beast has a mouth of a lion? Could that be an indication that King Charles is the lion, the mouth of the beast, the lion? Could be. Combined with Germany and France, that could, and he uproots them all and takes over those three. Wow, huh? The little horn becomes the 8th king out of the 10 kingdoms. That's all in prophecy, scripture, Revelations too. Powerful stuff, man. So, been on here about 3 hours now. Anybody want to comment or got anything to say about that or anything else? Let me see if there's any questions. If there ain't, I'm going to get off. Yeah, it was symbolic. You know what I mean? Jacuba Highlander says that if it wasn't the actual event, they spent a lot of money to make it real. Yeah, I would say I don't think it was the actual event, but I think it was a shadow or symbolic that may perhaps that happened, because it would have been right in the middle of the year. So it could have been the start of the 3.5 years of birth pains preluding the 3.5 years of tribulation, which makes 7 years. Tribulation years is 3.5 years, not 7. But there's 3.5 years of, I don't know if you want to call it peace before the devastation comes, but let's just call it the birth pains, 3.5 years of birth pains. And then comes the Great Tribulation that hasn't been Nobody's seen it that bad since the beginning and never will be, you know. So I don't know why this guy thinks everybody wants to see that garbage he's putting on there. Okay, let me see if there's any questions. I'm not sure what you're saying here, Maria. Testimonies were given since 2017 against Prince Charles, and very sad stories from victims since children, child sacrifices about him. One of the girls said Prince Charles shapeshifted into a gruesome beast, him and the Queen. Oh, wow. I never heard that before. That's pretty crazy. But I know that I did see where when he was born, his mother, Queen Elizabeth, introduced him to the world as the chosen one. She said he was the chosen one. That's what she said about him when she gave birth to King Charles. So I don't know what that meant either, but I did hear that she did that. She presented him to the kingdom, the world, right, as when he was a baby, after she had him as the chosen one, which is pretty weird. But man, that's true. If he turned into some gruesome looking beast, man, him and the Queen, that's a little bit scary. It's getting a little bit out there for me. I'm not understanding that question. Did you had a question? Oh, you already asked that one. I forgot about that. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's true. Where was it? I just saw. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Cato says the Catholics put the T or a cross or it is a cross, a T on the forehead is for Tammuz. Yeah, weeping for Tammuz, the ashes, Ash Wednesday. Why they do that? That's paganism, huh? Yeah, it's kind of weird, you know. I mean, yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions. So just keep in mind, I don't see any more questions here that I can tell. Okay. Yeah, Lent. It's correct. They call that Lent. Yeah, they put the cross on their forehead or the T for Tammuz on their forehead. It's called Lent. Yeah. Okay. So no other questions. I'm just going to wrap this up then and say that there's the obvious and then there's the not so obvious. So the obvious is, if we bow down to statues and relics and images and portraits and cakes, cross cakes and all this other stuff, and eat them and do worship and all this and that, it's pretty obvious, that we're sinning and breaking the first commandment, second and the third, really, but there are more subtle, more hidden sins out there that people are doing because they don't understand that they're sins. Some do, some don't. And that would include the cross, pictures of the J-Man hanging on your wall, images of the J-Man is in a photograph, images of God is in a photograph hanging on your wall. Those are sins. They're not allowed to make any image of Yahuah. They never saw Yahuah. They only heard his voice and felt his presence. So they're not allowed to make an image of him. And this was the sin of the golden calf. This is the sin of bowing down to a cross who represents your Messiah or your religion. It doesn't matter. It's the same sin. It's a sin, and it's a bad sin, really bad sin. And they, like I said, they knew very well who the Elohim that brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim was. Okay. And for them to make a feast day to this image and be celebrating, singing and dancing and getting drunk and carrying on, eating and drinking and being merry, was a great violation of Yahuwah's will. And it was a great sin, a very great sin. And they didn't know. They didn't create the calf to be an idol to bow down and worship to of another mighty one. That wasn't their purpose. We got to get that. Okay. And so if you don't get that, then you're going to fall for the lie that the cross is okay, because it's an image of the Messiah in the symbol of your religion. And so you think it's okay. If you don't get the story of the golden calf. See? So I hope everybody is getting that, putting that together. All righty. And I'll put the link to that video. So if you want to watch the whole thing, you can. It's interesting for sure. And I do believe we're getting closer and closer to the tribulation years. We have to be. We only have 6,000 years. Yahushua came on the 4,000th, the fourth day. We only got 2 days left. There's only 2,000 years, and they're expiring. Yahushua died and rose from the dead and ascended and everything on the fourth day, on the 4,000th year. That means there's only 2 days left. Well, if he did all that on year 28 AD, we'll say on the Gregorian calendar, then 2,000 years later is 2028. And with this all going on this summer of 2022, boy, that's getting to be a coincidence and a half right there, if you ask me. And some people call it a 2030. And if that's the truth, then you only got one more year to go before it all starts. And that could be Wells too. We really don't know exactly, do we? But we know we're getting close because we only got 2 days left after Mashiach came. That's the key right there. We don't have 3 days or 4 days or 5 days left. We have 2 days, which Peter proclaimed to be the end times. The beginning of the end times, after they received the Ruach, remember, in the upper chamber. Peter came out and proclaimed it was the end times in Acts 2. So that just means there's 2 days, 2,000 years left from that point. So we're coming up on it. So we got to be getting close, no matter how you slice the pie. All right. Thanks for coming and watching. Thanks for studying with us. Thank you for chatting in the chat room, hanging out with the Nazarene and studying the scriptures of truth with us. Thanks for tolerating the pictures. I don't know why that was happening, but hopefully y'all saw at least some of them, and even in that little thumbnail presentation, hopefully you saw some of it. But anyway, I think we all got the main message here for this evening, and I'll see a lot of you tomorrow on our Netzarim assembly tomorrow noon, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. And other than that, remember to stay in love with Yahushua. So long, beloved of Yahuwah. So long, Natsarim. So long, everybody.